So let's talk about your book here. So this is called The Perfect Tuba,
Correct.
Forging Fulfillment from the Bass Horn, Band, and Hard Work.
Right.
So you've written powerfully about community and meaning in America, from Dreamland to The Least of Us, in your nearly 4 decades of journalism.
Yep.
What drew you to write this book?
Well, as I said, when I was at the LA Times, I wrote 2 stories about the popularity of tuba in Mexican LA and about the banda world, banda music and all of that. And tuba is a huge, huge, important instrument and all that. Okay, so after those 2 stories were done, for reasons I cannot properly describe to you, Chris, I just began interviewing tuba players, mostly because I think I found them to be people who were doing what they were doing because they loved it. It was not from any motivation of wealth or fame or acclaim. They were just doing it because you love it. And generally speaking, as a journalist, I have learned that if you follow people who truly love what they're doing, you're going to find some great, great stories. And so I began to do that. At the same time, I was embarking on the books that you see behind me, the Dreamland book, which is about the opioid epidemic, and then The Least of Us, which is about fentanyl and methamphetamine spreading across the country. I was done with those books and I wanted to do something more. I wanted to get away from the topic of addiction. I want to get away from people trying to find happiness through something they buy, but instead work on things within them, develop their own capabilities, their own talents and skills, and learn through that what they were capable of. Yeah. And my agent said, you should see what you could do about this tuba project you've had in the back of your computer for so long. And I thought, actually, it's a great idea. And so I just began to interview tuba players again. And the project just came alive. It was beautiful. The stories were the main thing. But along the way, too, I began to include band directors because I realized that band directors and tuba players have a lot in common. You can't really name a tuba player. Most band directors are not famous either. They're doing it with enormous amounts of hard work, huge amounts of work. It's just incredible, the band directors that I got to know. Why? Well, they love it. They live to see the light go on in the eyes of their kids when their kids get what they're doing. And they're about community enhancers, right? You cannot have a football team without a band. You cannot have a band without a tuba player. They bring both the band director and the tuba player kind of bring the band together, right? And to me, that was a very, very important thing because addiction is really about isolation. It's really, you're using your dope. You don't give a crap who is, anybody, any other relationship doesn't matter unless they can help you find your drugs. And so to me, finding people who were about community enhancement was especially important. And then also it got to some of the essential habits and customs and values that I think are so important in sustaining community. Hard work, postpone gratification, discipline, right? Focus in a time of just incessant babbling distraction. It's about quiet focus. So the band in general, tuba playing for sure, is about all of these kinds of things that help us as a country sustain community, which is the main bulwark against drug addiction. And then along the way, of course, you are finding people who are discovering their purpose.
Right.
And addiction is a life is kind of like fill my void with drugs. This is different.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting. Yeah. The studio audience is always so good.
It's fabulous.
They're the best.
They're really good.
The ego boost. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that you bring all that up because, after reading the book, I noticed that there's a theme of people striving for mastery in obscurity.
Yes.
Why does that idea of working hard without fanfare resonate so deeply with you?
That's a really good question. And perhaps it's because we live in a culture in which the only kind of endeavor that's worthwhile is one that you get massive applause for. And the truth is, that's kind of an empty pursuit. It's very much like trying to find happiness from something you buy, like a piece of heroin or fentanyl or whatever. To me, I loved it because also tuba players, most tuba players do not want initially to play the tuba. They are usually late.
It's
They are
true.
usually late for band class on the first day of seventh grade. All the other instruments are taken, trumpet, drums, whatever. And so those who stick with it, the reason they stick with it is through hard work. They come to develop their skills and they learn. This is very important, I thought. They learn what they're capable of. And when you can teach a kid who, especially a kid who's thought, I'm no good at anything, nobody really values me. When you can teach a kid, this is something you are good at. I'm telling you, that's the best antidote to drug addiction you could possibly find. And so
Absolutely.
it's a great question. Oh, please. Oh, please. No, but I mean, that's kind of why I wanted to find people who found purpose, even though they weren't going to get much acclaim, because that's the narcotic of our culture last numerous years, seem to me.
Yeah. Well, and so because of that, so later on in the book,